doctor.
Save up to 50% on your medicine bills. Ask your doctor or pharmacist if Pharmacodynamics has a generic medicine that's suitable for you.
Bonnie Henna has been praised for her performances in local television shows and international movies. Though notoriously private, she recently penned her autobiography, which chronicles her personal struggle with depression and anxiety.
Eye Bags and Dimples, what a great title for an autobiography, Bonnie. Where did that come from?
Well, I've always hated my eye bags, and I've done like almost everything to try and get rid of them, and eventually I just thought, well, I'm born with them, what can I do? And the dimples I was also born with, but I never really celebrated them. So the title symbolizes aspects of my life that I despised and found that I actually didn't have to. It was about accepting them and owning them, and also celebrating the things that are amazing and not underplaying them.
Your book is described as a shockingly naked account of how depression nearly robbed you of your shine and how you continue to fight this darkness. I mean, tell me more about that.
Wow, it's been such a long journey because genetically my mom and my grandmother suffered with depression. And they were unaware of that. But there were distinct events and just patterns in my family that just I couldn't explain. I also couldn't explain how I'd always been sad from a child. In childhood, I just remember deep pockets of just sadness and emptiness and despair and anxiety, heavy anxiety. And it just got to a point where I think my body was saying, I can't do this anymore, you have to help me. And through that process of getting help, I had to go to my mom and say, Mom, I have this big thing to tell you. I'm going to go on antidepressants. This is how I feel, and it's ruining my life. And she said, well, what are the symptoms? And I told her, and she said, oh, I've had that all my life. And I was like, what?
And she'd never been treated for it, or never diagnosed, never been on any medication?
Nothing. And she said, I feel like this every single day. I said, well, Ma, well, let's do this thing together and we can take happy pills together. And she was like, no, I've lived with it all my life. No, it's fine. And that shocked me.
Wow.
So it kind of became the key that unlocked a lot of pain, and it helped me just reconcile with people in my life, especially her. And I was like, wow, Ma, I finally understand. And then I thought, well, how many South African families are going through this?
And aren't aware of it.
Don't know, yeah. And I was like, well, I just want to write about it because I want to help them understand.
So, which is fantastic, because I think your book just starts conversations, and that's what we need. Because people don't talk about this. Why do you think there's a stigma associated with depression and anxiety?
I think we just want to be perfect, don't we? We just want to know that we're actually invincible. And if you say, well, I have this thing where I can't get out of bed and I can't get it together, and everything overwhelms me, people are like, well, that's weak. Just snap out of it.
So do you think your diagnosis of depression was a kind of a turning point to say, hey, this is something that I can do something about. It's not me, it's just a sickness, it's an illness. It's like diabetes, it's like anything else anyone else gets, I just got depression.
Exactly.
So I mean, was the diagnosis a positive thing or a negative thing?
For me, it came at a time, we'd just come back from LA, we'd stopped to visit friends of ours in London, we're sitting at a Pizza Hut, and they just start sharing this journey they've had with depression. And I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, this is my life flashing before me. And I say to her, well, I think I'm struggling with the same thing, and I've gotten to a point where I need help. And I said, but I don't want medication. I don't want to take medication. And then she said, but if you had diabetes and you needed insulin to live, would you take it? And I said, yeah. And she said, well, what's different?
Exactly.
And in that moment, I thought, yeah, it's really simple. But what kind of makes it all daunting and confusing is you think about everybody else and what they're going to say, and how can this one little white pill help me cope with life? It doesn't, it doesn't make sense. But getting the diagnosis was actually freeing. I thought, finally, I actually have an opportunity to go on and live a full life. I can actually sort this thing out.
That's right. And that little white pill that you talk about actually normalizes things. That's what
it just
people
puts
that
me on
don't
even keel. Yeah, it just calms my world, because I was saying to someone the other day, it's the antidepressants are not a magic wand. You still have the responsibility of thinking right and exercising and living a healthy lifestyle, but it just gives you room in your head to make the right decisions.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Panic attacks, something that you experienced amidst your depression.
Yes.
What is that like? Because that's described in literature as you feel like you want to die. I mean, it's just awful.
They are awful. I mean, it's the one time you literally feel like every single thing is just converging in you into this tight ball, and and you're going to explode. And all you're thinking is control, 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 control. But you're not breathing, you're scared, you're panicked, so you're not really controlling anything. It's getting worse.
Panic attacks were once dismissed as kind of nervousness or stress, but they're now recognized as a real medical condition. It occurs suddenly, without any warning, as Bonnie said, without any way to stop it. The level of fear is way out of proportion to the actual situation, and it typically lasts no more than 10 minutes, and is one of the most distressing conditions that a person can experience, with symptoms that closely mimic those of a heart attack even.
Wow,
so how did you manage that? You're having a panic attack, what did you do?
Well, luckily I have one of the most supportive husbands, and he was there with me, and he would kind of, ask me questions like, what's going on? Speak to me, what do I need to do? And by the time I had my third panic attack, he was like, okay, this has got to stop, we can't do this anymore. And that's what really pushed me to go and see a doctor, because I was still going to kind of, I don't know, weigh it out. Am I going to go get help? Maybe not now, it's not urgent. But the panic attacks felt like they were pushing me over the edge. Yeah,
that's just a bit beyond the sadness, as you said, something that needs to be dealt with. A good way to manage a panic attack, if you listen to Bonnie and saying, I can relate to that, is something called be aware. A is acknowledge the reality and accept that you're scared. Wait and watch, just stand there. Count to 10 if you must. In terms of actions, belly breathing. And talk and reassure yourself. People who experience panic attacks usually use or breathe with their chest, but they should breathe literally from your belly. The R stands for repeat. I mean, as you start feeling better, another attack may occur, so just repeat what you've just done. And finally, the E is end. You know that this will eventually end.
Yes.
Not so, and there's hope in that,
Yes, this too shall pass.
There you have it. Bonnie, I got to say thank you so much for starting the conversation and for being brave enough to put it out in the open and say, hey, I battle with this.
Yeah.
And there is light at the end of the tunnel, because there really, really is.
There is. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Save up to 50% on your medicine bills. Ask your doctor or pharmacist if Pharmacodynamics has a generic medicine that's suitable for you.
I want to live the best life.